Welcome everyone to Daily Origins Lifestyle video series, A Year in the Pandemic. We're going to be speaking with business owners about the ups and downs in business throughout this past year. And today we're speaking with Jenny Sheehan, who is the owner of btone Fitness Middleton. Welcome, Jenny.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Jenny, I gave a little overview of what you do, but who are you? What have you been up to?
So I own btone Fitness in Middleton. We are a boutique studio. It's always the question, what do we do? But it's, as you know, you've been here. I would say we're most like a Pilates machine. So that's kind of how we tend to get categorized. It's like a new version. So the workout is a low impact strength training resistance based machine. It's a 45-minute full body workout. So we do all small group classes in our here in our studio.
Oh, wonderful. I love the classes, and I know that it's similar to the Pilates machines that a lot of people have maybe done, or even mat Pilates can be associated with it, but a great workout all around. Tell us a little bit about btone Fitness Middleton's origin story. What got you started? Why'd you open this franchise?
Yeah, so Btone started, it was founded by Jody Merrill out in Lexington about, God, I want to say like 10 years ago. So she's from the area. She had opened about 5 locations herself, and then she was like, just had this epiphany one day of like, I want to help other people do this. Like, people are always asking her, like, how do you do this? Where do you even begin? So she created that whole franchise structure for her business of Btone Fitness. And I had worked for Jody for, I want to say like 8, 9 years, kind of toward the beginning of her time starting out in Lexington, going into Boston, got up to being one of her managers. And then I was moving up to the North Shore. I moved to Linfield, so north of Boston. And, you know, people were always like, oh, when's North Shore coming? She'd be like, Jenny's going to do it. And I was like, am I? Am I going to do that? It was like a goal. But, you know, when you set goals, sometimes you're like, yeah, you know, in 10 years, I'll think about doing that because it's
Right.
scary. It's like, a lot, you know, it's money, it's time, it's a lot of responsibility. So, you know, for me at the same time, I'm someone who I like a challenge. I like to be busy. I like to feel like I'm always growing and learning and trying to push myself to learn more, do more, figure out more. So
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, when I moved away from Boston, you know, I had some little kids. So I was kind of stepping back from my variety of teaching and being in the city and lots of studios. So it sort of felt like the right time to like look into it and visit it. And I already knew Jody, so it was easy enough to just sit down and chat with her. Like, where do we begin? You know, let's say hypothetically,
Right.
what does it look like? And then, you know, talking with my husband, like, what do the numbers look like? Does it make sense? Can we do this? Um, and, you know, it all worked out that we were able to. So we opened as a franchise of Btone. What year is this right now? Is it 2020? We opened not quite 2 years ago, so April 2019.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty fast opening for us. We were kind of like looking at spaces in December and signed in January and then opened 3 months later. So it was
Wow.
fast, but, you know, we had a lot of support. Our landlord was great. Jody's great. There were some other B-tones. We were the second franchise opening, so I had another franchise owner to kind of be like, hey, what's going on? So that's kind of how we came to be here. It was a local community to where I live and where I am. And it was in the same hub of the fitness realm of where I was already working. So it just kind of felt like an organic, like, next step for me.
Right. And it was just a great like business model in general to be able to bring up to the North Shore of Massachusetts. So I think that's amazing. I've always admired the work you put in. And you noted that you opened in April 2019, so which it means you celebrated your first year in a pandemic. So tell us what it was like that you celebrated your first year. Congratulations. But now you're dealing with a pandemic. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? Because it was like, you know, the pandemic's hitting. We shut down mid-March. We technically closed voluntarily at first, like you know, about a week before the statewide shutdown happened, the lockdown. So yeah, like you said, it was weird because it was before the pandemic. You know, I'm planning like our big opening party, and I'm like, we're gonna have a photo shoot. We're gonna have like food and drinks and people and open house and like random guests walking in and out, like all the things that now we're like, like you
Yeah.
can't do
Like,
um,
please don't do that.
right? I was like, no. So, but it's like that's what we were planning, and then all of a sudden it's just like boom, like, you know,
Yeah.
train stop, and you're just like, okay, all of that's out the window. And then you close your doors, and now instead of thinking about how am I going to celebrate 1 year, you're thinking, am I going to be here in 1 year? And
Right.
it's just a weird, total mind switch. And, when it actually came to being that day a few weeks later of being 1 year, it's like, yay.
Yeah. It was a somber celebration for sure.
It was, yeah. And it was, in those early days and weeks, it's scary because you sort of shut doors with the initial, like, silver lining hope of it's going to be 2 weeks. We're just going to ride
Right.
it out. We're going to hit the pause button and we'll all be okay and on the other side in 2 weeks. And we all know that that's not how that went. Um, and so at that point, you're past that. And at that point, there was no end in sight. There was no reopening plan. There was just, we're in this moment of lockdown for as far as we can see.
Right.
And that's all the information that anyone had. It was no one's fault of that. It was just what it was. So it's just, it was a lot because as a business owner, you're like, you have $0 coming in, but you still have all of your expenses ready to go out. People are coming, like, you got to keep your lights on, you got to pay your rent, your insurance, all those things. You're thinking about payroll, like we're fitness. So if my instructors aren't teaching, they're not getting paid. But then you're like, do I pay you to not teach? Do I have money to pay you to not teach?
Right.
And things get tricky and the government, they're trying to figure out loans and money and all that. But, like for us, like the PPP is that big loan, the paycheck protection plan. But my staff are not W-2 employees. They're contractors because they teach here, they teach there, they teach part-time. So, I'm not eligible for that loan. So then you're looking elsewhere and stuff. So it's just, things can work themselves out, but it takes time. And it's, not necessarily to anyone's fault, but it's like when you shut the doors and you need to pay your bills and you have no
Right.
money, you're sort of like, where's this money coming from? No one's giving me
Yeah.
money.
It's you're gonna have to go in the back and pick it off the money tree.
Right.
So you mentioned a lot of obstacles that were thrown your way. How did you like mentally approach it, and maybe even financially? Like, how did you end up approaching all those obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unlike the grieving process a little bit where you're like denial and like anger and then
That's
wait
a
once
good
it's accepted.
comparison.
It's a little bit like that, honestly. I say that jokingly, but I'm kind of serious. Like because at first you're like, no, this isn't happening, but we're going to be
Right.
okay. Like, I refuse to accept that, like, I'm shut down and maybe I won't reopen. And then, you start getting mad. Like, why is this happening? Why are we freaking out? Why are we doing this? Why is this happening? But then one day you just have to kind of like pause and like, you start with the hard questions. Like, are we all going to die right now? And then you're
I
like, okay,
know.
how do we be safe? Like, what do we need to do? What's most important? Like, that my clients are safe, my instructors are safe. So if that means we stay closed longer, that's what we do. Right. And then when you get to a point of like, here's a timeline of when we can open, then you start looking at it from that financial aspect of like, okay, where am I financially? Like, how much do I have in the reserves? Can I sustain to get to that point? What will it look like when I get to that point? How can I
Hmm.
make it realistic to reopen? Because that's going to be harder and easier for some businesses, right, compared to others. For us, like, we're machines, we're a small group already. So capacity restrictions, space restrictions, we kind of already were there. So
Right.
some of these guidelines and things you need to do now for safety don't necessarily affect us drastically that they would in a different place. So you start looking at those things like, what's the best layout for my space? What's the cleanest way I can have it? What filters and stuff can I add? Like, you start looking at that, then you have to crunch those numbers and what does that cost? But for us, I think a blessing for us was being a new business. Like, it's sort of, you know, the double-edged sword, right? It's like you're new and so then you're shut down. So you have a little bit of that panic of like, can I make it? I was just getting my feet wet. But at the same time, you're also like, I jumped all in. Like, I am all
Right.
in on this business and I was in it for the long haul. So if it takes a long haul to get out of it, I'm already committed to that, right? So
Hmm.
a different business maybe was thinking about retirement. They've been in this 50 years. Like, that's a different conversation for them than it was for me. So I think looking at it in that lens was able to help me mentally and emotionally to be like, I'm invested and I'm willing to make this work with whatever that takes. I'll find the
Yeah.
money, I'll put in the manual labor, I'll build my own barriers, all of the things I need to do to make it as best and as safe as I can to get the doors back open and to get people comfortably coming in safely.
That I think you did such a great job too. And for those who don't know, btone as a franchise switched over to what they called home tone. And they had very different variations of classes, but all low impact. And it applied to everybody who was at home, whether you had equipment or not. So it was a really adaptive model to take the fitness that you were getting in class and getting it offered at home. And I believe those classes are still on demand for people who would still want to take them. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. So we started, like you said, is doing like live virtual classes. And then, that's always a challenge of like what time of day and, which days and so forth. So once we kind of got a bunch of those going, then we started banking them into a database to save. So that now we have some clients who still haven't been back in studio. They're waiting for their vaccine or whatnot, but they're still able to access those home tone workouts. That way they can still just be a part of the same community. They're still taking class with the same instructors that they had been taking class with. It's not going to be the same. It's not a machine, but it's still the same idea of the same kind of workout in that, the low impact, the resistance, offering some variety. And it's a nice way for us to support them, but them to support us as well.
No, absolutely. I think it was a great offering. And in a time where a lot of people weren't even prepared to do virtual, you were able to, adapt a business model that helped everybody just feel more comfortable being at home. And even when things started to open back up at btone, there's barriers, there's air filters. You've done a lot so far to make sure that everybody feels safe and protected in the studio.
Thank you. We're trying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of it too is it's a little bit of like flying by the seat of your pants sometimes.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I am. That's sort of how I roll. Like I'm not someone who naturally stresses a lot about things. I tend to just be like, I need to make a decision. And then if you're like, oops, that wasn't the best decision, you're like, let me just continue, making it better or so forth. So with us, it's like, all right, we need to get open. Like, let's look at the guidelines. Let's look at all the suggestions. Let's do all the things we need to do. And then we'll keep adding from there. So we'll make more barriers. We'll make bigger barriers. We'll add HEPA filter air purifiers. So, every day it's kind of looking at it like, what are we missing? Like, what do we think else we could do? And kind of going from there.
Yeah. And that, I think that's a great point you bring up, because you're still finding the good in the hardest year of probably business for you. What is something that has happened in a positive note that might have changed the way you look at your business model, or just how you handle your day to day?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It's like your entire sort of priorities of your business model shifts a little bit. With us being new, we started off really kind of diving into a lot of like grassroots marketing and that in the community connection. Like we were going to all of those town days and event fairs and stuff like that and sponsoring fundraisers, because we just wanted to get the word out there. We want to be a part of the community where we are. And we still do, some of that exists, but a lot of that obviously doesn't exist right now. It's closed. So on the one hand, kind of when we were locked down, you take a little bit of a pause just to not reevaluate so much, but just shift focus onto like, okay, what are like some of the most important things? And it's a little bit like the concept of like starting to say no to things. Like instead of just like, yes, 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 yes,
Right.
like what
Yeah.
more can I do? What more can I take on? It's a little bit of like pause and take a step back and just like, what's the basics of our business model? Like, what are we at our core? What do we deliver? What are we offering to our clients? And then you sort of refocus from there. So it's been a lot of just really focusing in on our clients. We already know that like our workout, our machines are good. We know our studio is clean. We have the financial structure already set up of our memberships and so forth. We left all that really as is or adapted slightly for the times, but for us, it was really shifting the focus into the clients. Like, okay, how do we make them feel comfortable coming back in? How do we make them have a good experience when they're here? How do we keep them engaged and wanting to come back and wanting to be a part of us? How do we really like hone in on this fact that we are a small business? We're a single location owned. We're in a small town, surrounded by other small towns. So it's like, it's kind of like a big family, it's like you come into class and you're there with 7, 8 other people. Like, everyone in that class probably.
Right.
You're there at the same time every week. So that's just been kind of like a nice way just to like find these little moments of connection in a different way. It's not the big events, it's not the in-studio events, but it's, a little like promotion. Like we're doing a thing, we're honoring, this week, all of our clients who have taken 100 classes or more. We ordered
Wow.
tanks and they're all going to get a free tank. And just trying to do like some little things like that. It's like, hey, I see you. I see your hard work. You've been here with us this past year and through thick and thin. And now it's finding ways to
Absolutely.
give back to them, right?
Yeah. You mentioned that, and that's also been mentioned in one of our previous conversations with Taryn Burns, who's doing a yoga and it's all virtual now. She mentioned it's more about the retaining your relationships rather than going out and trying to gain more right now. So I think that's a wonderful point. And what you've learned over the year is that your clients, who they are right now, are the most important. And I think that's a valuable lesson that a lot of businesses might have learned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that if you're just starting out, it's a great thing to think of as well.
It is true. I think a lot of, and this was something with being a new business pre-pandemic, like we were like, as you just said, it's like we're always trying to be like, who else can we get in, who else can we reach,
Right.
more people in, because you're only keeping X% of those people that come through your door that first time. So but now it's like so many people. I mean, I myself am hesitant to like go somewhere I've never been, because I'm kind of like, oh, what's it going to be there? Is it safe? Is it for me or whatever?
Yeah.
You always
Less
have to cover
studio
that.
hopping.
Yeah, less studio hopping for sure. It's more of that habituating. So it's like, okay, our clients who are coming in, it's because they're really loyal to us. They really believe in
Mm-hmm.
us. They really want to support us. So it's keeping that like personal connection to them. And then slowly the new clients will come because they're coming as a referral. It's, hey, I brought my friend this week. Hey, I told this person, like my so and so comes here. So
Wow.
it's those moments.
Yep.
So overall, this past 6 months of being reopened, we're getting less new clients in each month as expected, but we're actually getting a better retention from those new clients because it's that connection, and they sort of like, it's a more meaningful person coming in, not just someone who's like, oh, your Facebook ad came across my screen.
Right.
What is this?
I think that's fantastic. And so, kind of pivoting away from like just pandemic speak, if you were to give anybody advice as a newcomer opening their own business, what is something that you would give? Maybe it's something you learned even just starting out throughout the year of 2019 before this all happened.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe in, and I would have said this, I think, pre-pandemic, but I think if you're opening a business, like it's your business and you have to treat it like as your baby. Like you need to put your own face in front of it. You need to be the one in it. And whether it's, if it's retail and you're working the checkout desk, if it's fitness and you're teaching the classes, but you need that face time.
Yeah.
Even before the pandemic, I feel like people, clients, customers, they really wanted that personal connection. They want to feel like they know you. They want to feel like they're supporting their small business. They're staying at their local place. And I think even more so now coming through this pandemic, that's just magnified. Like people don't want the big nobody corporates. They want to be like,
Right.
I'm going to this little hole in the wall in the back alley of my neighborhood, and I'm gonna support you. So it's like,
Oh, it's
if
so
you're gonna be that
true.
little hole in the wall, you got to be that face, because they're like, no, I'm not. I'm going to Jenny's place. I'm not going to that, like, whatever.
Yeah. It's we were just speaking of this, how I can't wait to go to like a little hole in the wall Italian restaurant in the North End.
They're
Those
the
are the best
best.
places.
So
That's
good.
such a great point. Just what the to wrap everything up, what are we expecting out of btone in the years to come? And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We're open. Not going anywhere. Dug in my heels. um, but yeah, I mean, seriously, we've invested our time, our money, our blood, sweat, and tears into getting our doors open and being committed here for the long haul. And that's where we're going to stay. So we're going to continue to adapt with the times as they may change. I can't picture a time of ever taking down my barriers. Like I'm kind of
Yeah,
attached to
you
it
like them
now.
now.
I like them. I kind of like working out my little like cubby. Um,
Yeah.
but at some point, like things will change, and I think they'll change for the better, and we'll continue to adapt for that, but always with that front of mind that our clients are most important. So making them feel safe, making them feel comfortable while delivering a great product, which the product for us is that workout class.
Hmm.
And that's what we're gonna do. So we'll make any changes, jump through any hoops that we need to figure it out, but we're gonna be here and we're gonna be ready to tone your booty.
Yeah, amazing. And congratulations on all the hard work. I know what it's been, how difficult it's been for you to just adapt in so many ways. And personally, just knowing how the fitness industry has been thrown, several different rules and regulations to follow, and you've done nothing but adhere to all those. So congratulations to you, and happy almost 2 years coming up.
Better luck this year. I'm not
Yeah,
planning
we hope for a nice 2021 with maybe a celebration in the future. But yeah, that's it for our questions with Jenny today. And I thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for
And
having me.
hope to catch up with you soon.